Hi everyone, welcome to Infinix Learning. This is Omar. In this video, we are going to talk about one of the most important functions in Microsoft Excel, and that is your Vlookup function. Vlookup function is perhaps as useful as your sum function. It is an absolute must for accountants who want to use Excel efficiently and effectively. So what does exactly the Vlookup function do? Well, Vlookup function is used to extract data from large datasets. This function, as its name says, is used to look up for values in datasets. So as an example, you can see this dataset in front of you. This is basically the net imports for different countries and regions for the year 2016. These are the values of your net imports in billions of dollars. Vlookup function can be used to extract these values given the names of these countries. So as an example, you want the value of France extracted automatically. Vlookup function can do that and return you $4.6 trillion. How does Vlookup function work? Let's look at some of the theory behind it before we move on to the specifics. So this is what we call the lookup value. This is the value which you are trying to look up when you will be using the Vlookup function. And then you have a return value or a corresponding value. This is the value you want to return from your data. Vlookup function has 4 arguments, which means you have to give 4 values before you can use the function. The first one is the lookup value, which basically is the value you are trying to find in the dataset. So going back to this example, this is your lookup value. This is the value you're trying to look up for in your data. Then you have the table array, which is the address of the table you want the value to be found in. This is your source data. In my example, from column B to column E is my source data or my table array. Then you have the column index number. This is the number of the column which holds the corresponding value. So in my example, it's the first, second, third, fourth. It's the 4th column which holds the corresponding data which I want to return in my Vlookup function. Finally, the 4th argument is a setting which is called range lookup. Range lookup basically enables you to either search for an approximate lookup value or an exact lookup value. This is a toggle. You can either have it true. If it is true, this means the lookup value which Excel will find will be an approximate match. If it's false, then it will always look up for the exact values in your table. We'll learn more about this in the later part of the video. Let's fire up Excel and do a practical case study. Okay, so this is a case study which we are going to do as an accountant in this video. Let's say I work for a construction supplies company, and as a part of my job, I have to make quotations for customers who are placing orders in my company. I have an inventory list in which I have hundreds of items from which I have to choose the items which the customer is interested in, which means I have to pick up certain items which the customer wants, and then from those picked up items I have to make a quotation. Now I do this manually and it takes a lot of time. So let's learn how we can streamline this process and do it very efficiently. Over here you can see I have an inventory list. Now this, in the practical world, this will most likely be in a different tab. For the sake of easiness and to explain things effectively, I have copied this in the same tab as my quotation sheet, so we can quickly reference cells and learn this easily. What I want to do is I want to make a quotation for a customer who has just placed an order. In a normal manual world, how will I do it? Let's zoom it a little bit. I will type my item number, let's say which is 1, and let's say the customer has ordered a cordless drill. So I'll type in the cordless drill, and he has ordered 3 quantities of that. Since I want the price of this cordless drill, I have to go to my inventory list and I have to search manually for the price. Here is the call list trail and this is the price. So I have to copy this manually and then paste it over here. Once I have pasted it, I can do a simple formula, quantity times the price, to get my total amount. Now, as you can see, this is a very manual process. It will take me ages to do this for multiple products and then for multiple customers. How can we streamline this more effectively? We can use the Vlookup function for that. Now, in the very simplest way, how we can do it? I'll delete the price and I'll start using my Vlookup function by pressing the equal key. I'll type in Vlookup. The first argument is a lookup value, which is the call list trail. So I'll select that, comma. The second argument is the table array, which means the table which holds my lookup value, which is this. So I have to select this. I'll keep holding my mouse key and drag all the way down to the bottom. You can include the headers or you can exclude them. It doesn't make a difference, comma. Column index number, which is the number of the column in which my corresponding value is. This is column 1 and this is column 2. So my corresponding value is in the second column. I'll type in 2, comma. Now the setting, do I want an approximate match or do I want an exact match? In 99% cases as an accountant, you will be using an exact match because we don't want things to be left at chance. So we will write false over here because we want an exact match of our products. Now you can either write false all the way, or a more efficient way is to write 0. 0 in Excel stands for false and 1 stands for true. A more effective way which you will use in complex Excel sheets is 0 rather than typing the whole false word. So 0, and you will close the brackets, press enter, and here you go. Excel has pulled up the price for call list trail for you using the lookup value, which is this. Let's make sure that now it's working perfectly. Let's say the customer has ordered a foam gun. So I will change this to foam gun. And here you go. The price of the foam gun is $300 and it has automatically pulled that up from my inventory list. This is how the Vlookup function works in its most basic and simplest sense. The story of Vlookup doesn't end here. Let's expand this further to learn a few more things about how we can continue to use this function more effectively. Let's say now I move on to the second line, and the second product which the customer is interested in is the pressure pan. So pressure pan, and let's say he wants 5 units of this pressure pan. Now, one easy way to expand this customer quotation is to simply copy and paste this formula down. So I'm going to copy, which is Control C, and I'm going to paste it, Control V over here. It works perfectly. But if you look at the formula itself over here, my table array selection, the address of the table array has moved down. This is because of the relative referencing of Excel. This means that the cell reference is changing automatically. I don't want that because this can cause problems for me when I expand this customer quotation more. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look. So first, let's copy the total formula over here. Let's say the third item which the customer has requested is a portable generator. So portable generator, and he wants 1 unit of that. Let's copy the Vlookup formula, Control C and then Control V. As you can see, I have this error now. This is the not available error in Excel. Why do we have this error? Let's look at the formula. Because your Vlookup table array address, the reference, this reference has moved down and now it is not covering the first line of your inventory list. How do we fix that? How do we take care of it? To take care of this, you have to use what we call cell lock, or you have to fix your references. How do I do that? Let's go back to the first time we have used the VLOOKUP formula. You can press F2 to edit the formula. Once you are in the formula, you can see that this is your table reference from H3, so H3 to I14, so I14 over here. To lock these cells or to fix those references, you have to add a $sign in front of the column and row. This will lock your cells. Now, adding a $sign in front of the columns, the H column, means that this H column is locked and it will not move as you copy this formula over to other cells. And putting a $sign in front of rows does the same for rows. It locks up the rows. You can quickly do this by also pressing the F4 shortcut key. As you can see, you can toggle these different cell lock settings. Here you go. So I want to lock both my columns and my rows for the entire table address. So it looks something like this. This means wherever I move this formula, my cell reference for the table array will not change. This is one way of doing this. Another way of doing this is to delete this and actually reference the entire column H and column I. Now, why do you want to do that? In future, if you expand your inventory list to have more items, these items will automatically be included in your database. So VLOOKUP will automatically be able to reference those items. Now, as a best practice, I still would want to lock my columns so they don't change. So I will place a $sign in front of both column headers. And that's it. Now, if you copy this formula down, it will not give you an error. Now we can just copy our total formula and complete our customer quotation. So this is how you can effectively make sure that your VLOOKUP formula stays up to date and it continues to reference the entire table array. Now that we know the basics behind the VLOOKUP formula, let's quickly expand the discussion. Let's say you have few more columns in your inventory list. So let me unhide those columns. Here you go. So I have, besides the price, I have the delivery estimate, the warranty, and the make for each one of my items. And I want to include these three as well in my customer quotation sheet. So how do I do that? Now, the best way is to first add the three columns in your customer quotation. And you can add the columns by selecting column C and right clicking and clicking insert. And then the same thing all over again, right click, insert, and right click, insert. There are faster ways of adding columns by using keyboard shortcuts. We will get into the shortcuts perhaps in another video. I will adjust the column width of these new columns. The three columns I have, I will copy their names over here as values so the formatting stays consistent, and I will copy the format right over here. Let's wrap text. Yeah, it looks good now. So I want to use this formula, and I want to use the same formula in these three cells very effectively. How do I do that? First, if you look at a formula, you can see that your formula only covers column K and column L, which means it does not include the entire inventory list and all its columns. So the first thing you have to do is you have to expand this to include the three additional columns as well. How do you do it? You can simply select the table array argument, delete, and reselect the new columns, column K to column O. Don't forget to lock the cells by pressing F4 or by manually typing the $sign. This ensures that whenever you move this formula, copy this formula to other cells, the inventory list, the table array does not change. You can press enter. So now I can simply copy my revised formula down. It's a good hygiene habit to make sure you always copy the revised formula across all the rows to make sure they are updated. Now you can copy this formula to your column C to get the delivery estimate. Here you go. And you have a reference error. The reason you have a reference error is because, well, let's look in the formula, is because your lookup value is no longer correct. That's because when you move this formula from column G to column C, there was no place for your reference in column B to go. There was no place further left for it to go. So you have to lock the reference column as well. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look. Go back to your original formula in column G and press F2 to go inside the formula. You have to lock the column reference for your lookup value. So whenever you move this formula or copy this formula to other columns, the same column for lookup value, which is column B, is referenced. You do that by adding a $sign in front of the column alphabet, column B. You press enter and that's it. A good hygiene would be, like I said before, to copy this down. And now you can copy all these 3 cells to your column C. Here you go. Obviously, you still have the price per unit displayed in your delivery estimate column, and that's because, well, you have not changed the column index number. The column index number is still 2, which means it is still referencing your price per unit. If you go to the left, you can see that your delivery estimate is in 1, 2, and the 3rd column. So you will have to make that change. So what am I going to do is I'm going to go back to my formula, change this 2 to 3. We have 2 days of delivery estimate for the foam gun. Let's copy this formula down and that's it. You have your delivery estimate populated. Now, the problem I have with this is it's still a bit inefficient, because if I copy these 3 cells to the column D to get the warranty, I will still have to manually change the index number to get to my warranty data. I don't want to do that. I want this to be more efficient. So how can I do it? It's very simple. And this is something which many professional accountants use day in and day out. You can basically, instead of typing 3 or 2 as your column index number, reference this to another cell. What do I mean by that? Let's take a look. So I'll go back to my original formula. Now I know that this formula is for the price. I'm trying to look up price using this Vlookup, and the price is in column number 2. So I will put my column 2 somewhere over here in another cell, and instead of typing 2 manually, I will delete this and link the column index number with this cell. Obviously, I want to lock this cell as well to make sure that as I move this formula or copy this formula in other cells, this reference still stays valid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the rows. I don't want to lock the columns because I want the columns changing as I copy this to other columns, but the row number 2 should stay the same. That's it. Again, copy the formula down. Now I will copy this formula to my delivery estimate column over here, and yes, I have the value error because there is no value for the lookup, the column lookup over here. So I know that my delivery estimate is in column 3. So I'll type in 3. Here we go. We have delivery estimate. Now you can very effectively just copy these 3 values in your make and warranty columns. You know that the warranty is in column 4. You know that the make is in column 5, and here you go. Very effectively and very efficiently, all of your columns are being pulled over from your inventory list. For example, if you want to change the order of these 3 columns and you want the make to be before the delivery estimate, well, all you have to do is change make over here type in delivery estimate over here and change this to column 5, change this to column 3. That's it. This is the most efficient use of Vlookup function in this specific scenario. And you can add more items to your quotation and just copy these formulas over and over again. That's how the Vlookup function works. Let's say if the fourth item your customer has ordered is a glass cutter, so I will just type in glass cutters. Here you go. Automatically it pulls up all the information from the inventory list. And let's say the last item the customer has ordered is a wrench set, so wrench set. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. You can put up your questions in the comments below. You can download this worksheet from the description, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for your time.